Hey everybody, Dave here. Hope you're having an awesome day. So, if you've been following me at all, you are familiar with my 1M robots builds that I've been working on for the last couple months. And we're going to be doing a really cool art show at DesignerCon this coming November. And we've actually printed out the 200% size, so a little bit bigger than this, and we've sent it out to a handful of artists. And we're going to actually have a really cool art show at DesignerCon at our booth. If you're not able to come, stay tuned because we'll post videos and stuff of that. But if you are coming, just so you know, some of the artists are going to be BP Customs, Gamey Build, Boyle Hobby Time, Smuggler's Room, David Miniatures, Beast Wreck, Tinkerbot Toys, Art by Art, Jimbot. There's going to be some really cool artists. And along with that, my buddy Ray, he's got the channel Stumptworkshop. And he does these little kaiju monsters, and if you don't follow him, you should check him out, link below. Super awesome, fun little stuff. But I was looking at this, and I thought, it'd be really cool if I did an art piece, kind of a collaboration with Stumptworkshop, my buddy Ray. And, oh, he's also on our show Toy Rats, if you haven't seen that. It's just me and him being stupid and talking about toys and pop culture, so check that out. But anyways, I want to do a little diorama build for the art show, and we'll have this thing on display as well. Oh, I want to show you really quick. Speaking of Ray's work, he just gave me this little guy. This is a little character he's calling Crazy Corn, and it's a little candy corn, perfect for the Halloween season. I think this is going to be on his website today, actually, when this video launches. So go check that out. I'll leave a link for this. Super cool. Let's go make some cool art out of this and see if I can do something just as awesome as this. Alright, so this is the little kaiju that Ray made, Stumptworkshop. Check out his link below. Super cool little figurines. Had to do a little bit of sanding, but not too bad. And then he made these cool little buildings, and they break apart, so you can actually do some kind of play with them. So I'll use that later on in the build. The bottoms were a little rough, so I put that on the belt sander to get that down. Originally, I was going to use this Buster bot. Actually, I'm sorry, this is the Imperial bot. But he was a little bit shorter, and I have another bot called Dozer, and he's a little bit taller, and the scale just worked a little bit better with this kaiju. So here's Dozer. I had to do a little bit of cleanup on him, but not too bad. And you can see here, I'm just showing the scale, and I think overall it's going to end up working better. I painted it this army green because I wanted him to be kind of like this military robot that was fighting the kaiju. Now, in our collection lineup, he's actually yellow, but for this build, I thought the green would be awesome. What I'm doing here is just adding some darker gunmetal gray, and it's just adding some nice little accents, little metal components to the robot itself and giving it that military look. Adding some little details, chipping all across the body, and I'm using this silver so it looks almost like he's been fighting and battling and just kind of worn down to the under part of the metal there. Adding a little bit of white into these areas where I'm going to paint some color as if they're lights that are blinking, and this white helps act as a nice base so I can add the color on top of it. Otherwise the green's a little bit too dark. Adding just a little bit of black into that number 6 just so it helps recess that in. And then on these little extra components, I originally was going to paint them all silver, but I thought if I add a little bit of this orange color, it'll give it a little bit more dimension and depth. And here you can see it adds a little bit more interest overall, so I like that. Using this silver marker again, and just putting some scuffs on the fist again, so it's been like fighting. Using some little Citadel red, and just dab that over the top of the white, and it really helps that color pop. So this is just supposed to look like some little blinking lights that would be in the robot. I'm using a little bit of yellow here for the main light, and yeah, here's kind of the overall figure with all the chipping and stuff. So next I got to jump over to the kaiju. So originally I was going to paint him just this gray color, like a Godzilla kind of thing, but my buddy was like, what if you painted him silver and made him like a robot? And I was like, oh, that'd be cool. So what I did is I'm marking out some places where I'm going to put these little beads, and I don't even know what these beads are. I just got them at Joann's on clearance, but I'm going to just dip them in that super glue, and then I'll place them on the Kaiju here. And this part here looks kind of weird because you're gluing these little beads on and it looks kind of funky, but once you paint this out, it looks super cool. So I'm putting all the beads on, and this here is kind of like just a slow, tedious process. You got to just keep at it. And it was kind of this weird balance of what's too much, what's too little, but I did add some scratches and some scuffs all over it, and here it is painted silver. Now, this is pretty cool, but I'm going to go ahead and do some of the weathering that I really like to do with this Vallejo wash. And again, you just brush it on. Now, when you brush on the silver, it does kind of smear around, and it doesn't stick great the first time, but after you do 2 or 3 coats, it sticks really nice. Take a paper towel, start brushing that off. Now, the eyes, I'm going to go with this orange color, maybe like an orange light inside. The orange took about 4 coats to cover up this silver, but it was something that was worth it in the end. Now, these little spikes on the back, I went ahead and painted them all black, and I think that's looking pretty great. The black covered pretty decent, but I did have to do 2 coats because you can see the silver come through a little bit. I went ahead and painted around the rim of the eye, and you can see I wasn't super careful with the orange because I knew I was going to paint the black over the top of that, so here I'm being a lot more careful and precise. Yeah, just looking at this, I'm going to need to do another coat on that black, but that's not going to be a problem. Went ahead and painted the pupil red. I really like the feel of that. Painted the shoes black. Painted the gloves black. I ended up painting the claws like a gray. I wasn't going to do any wash on the military bot, but after I did the Kaiju, I was like, yeah, he needs to have some wash. So I went ahead and did a wash over him. And then I went back to the Kaiju and I actually just added some rust around all the rivets. And again, this is just like really simple but kind of precise detailing that gives this kind of really nice finished look and feel. Taking the silver pen, and I went ahead and chipped up all the spikes. And I found this little picture frame thing at the hobby store, and I'm going to take that little hanger off. So it was just 2 screws, pop that off, and this is actually going to be a really nice base for what I want to do. So I got this polystyrene, and I want to make like 3 concrete bases for the 3 buildings that Ray gave me that break apart. So then I took a piece of sandpaper and I glued it to the top, and I'm just trimming that off. And when I flip this over, you'll be able to see I've got the sandpaper that's going to act as a nice road. Then I've got those 3 platforms that the buildings will sit on, and then I'm using this little piece here as kind of like a curb, that long strip. And you'll see what I'm going to do with this a little bit later. I did a light gray, a medium gray, and then speckled it with a darker gray, but it was still a little too light. So I went ahead and did a wash over the whole thing, kind of smeared that around. It was a little too smooth, so I went ahead and dabbed it and kind of tried to get these irregular splotches. And then I did little dashes in the road. I did these dashed lines on the long road, but I ended up making a long white line instead. You'll see that a little bit later. Put a little bit of super glue on these, just gluing down those bases that the buildings will sit on. Glued down the middle one there. I went ahead and glued down the last one, and then this long strip here. I'm going to act as if this is like a little sidewalk, and then I'm going to have the Kaiju monster and the robot in a park. So in order to do the park, I just laid down some Elmer's glue, and once I got a good coat down, I just got a brush and smoothed it all out, and I had to work pretty quick. And then I took this just green flocking and started spreading it out over the whole thing, and then kind of just filling in any little cracks. I flattened it all out, kind of brushed all that stuff off, and now the base here, I'm just going to paint this black. Painted the buildings black, painted the windows. I actually dabbed a lot of black paint, wiped it off, weathered it, and then I'm going to do a little bit of dry brushing just to bring that silver back, and I think we're going to wrap this one up. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this was really a fun build, and it was actually like one of these relaxing builds where I just doing some painting, some weathering, build a little diorama, and these little guys battling. It's gonna be so fun. I can't wait to show you the finished piece. And another cool part was collaborating with my buddy Ray from Stumptworkshop and just talking through this piece and Originally, I had some different ideas, and he was like, "Ooh, what if you put rivets on it and made it like a robot?" And I was like, "Oh, that's perfect. That's so cool." And he said you'd get to use the word greeblies in your videos, so that's always a good day, right? All right, let's do some turnaround shots of this thing, and as always, it's a great day to be a toy nerd. Have a great one.